Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Marigold Standard, your weekly audio source of all things Dream Star fighting Marigold, although it is slightly more than weekly this week as we're dropping 2 episodes. This one is our special Dream Star Grand Prix primer episode. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin. I am joined by my partner in Joshi Crime. That is Mr. Matt Turner. Matt Turner, how are you in the 25 seconds since I spoke to you last?
Miss you, buddy. You still wear the same Ring of Honor jacket. How about that? To
Of course.
represent. I'm good, buddy. I'm super excited. We just talked about on the Marigold Standard how we have a lot of great wrestling this weekend. Super pumped for it between the start of the Dream Star, which obviously we're talking about, the 5-star SummerSlam, and Julia defending the United States Championship on SmackDown this Friday. So super pumped. Life as well. I know you're excited. I believe you're gonna have a fantastic weekend. Pun intended. You see what I did there? But yeah, super excited for you to watch the Fantastic Four. Again, I saw it over the weekend with my wife and my daughter, part of Amber's birthday extravaganza this past weekend. So when are you going to see it? Is it Friday?
No, tomorrow, Wednesday.
Oh, there you go. New comic book day, by the way. That's why
New
you go.
comic book day.
That's why you went. So good thinking.
Absolutely.
Good thinking.
Well, it was one of those where I was like, well, how do I tie this in? But I did forget to tell you actually on the last podcast. I get injured quite a lot.
Oh no, what'd you do now?
Honestly, mate, it's a running joke now. It's ridiculous. So I played my first game of football back since I slipped a disc in my back. So I was like, do you know what? I'm definitely okay to play. Kirsty did message me the other day and say, if you come back injured, I swear to God, I'll change the locks. So the pressure was on that. Back was fine. Back was holding up. I've jumped for a ball to head it, and someone has pushed me in the back. And because they've pushed me, I haven't braced for the landing. And I've landed with my left leg sort of straight. So I've landed like that. My knee's buckled. Turns out I've torn my meniscus and I've sprained my LCL and my MCL. Or I've done something to the LCL and MCL as well. So no more football until at least Christmas. I've been informed. Can't have an MRI scan for the next 2 months because the backlog is that much that they just can't do them at the moment. So I've basically been told take some painkillers. So yeah, that's nice and fun. Kirsty is very much just like, I don't understand how this continues to happen, Rob. And I also don't, Kirsty. If you are listening, I don't know how this continues to happen.
Kirsty, at least he's consistent. Like, at least you're fairly aware. It's like, yeah, he's going to come back injured. At least you're consistent, buddy. You know what I mean? So
24 minutes I'd been on the pitch. 24 minutes. And then I came back on and carried on playing as well after the knee injury, which probably didn't help.
No, probably didn't, but good for you toughing it out, my man. Good for you toughing it out. Speaking of toughing it out, we're going to have some competitors. Yeah, we're going to have some competitors toughing it out if they want to win the second ever Dream Star Grand Prix. Look at that. Look how I just rolled that right in, buddy.
Beautiful. It's one of your best transitions ever, I would argue. Yes,
the bar's set low, though. The bar's set low.
Yes, we are going to be doing our primer for the upcoming Dream Star Grand Prix. We didn't do one last year, or at least a full one last year, with it being the inaugural tournament. And also, this probably won't be as long as our 5-star Grand Prix one, simply because there's not as much in terms of history to go into, because again, this is the second annual Dream Star Grand Prix. But what I can tell you is that the Dream Star is Marigold's annual round robin tournament. For those who follow Stardom, it's their 5-star Grand Prix. For those who follow New Japan, it's their G1 Climax. The format, which has been the same for both years that they've run it, is that it is 2 blocks of 8 women. Both blocks will have one winner, one person go through, and they will take on each other in the grand final. There are no semifinals, no quarterfinals, no playoffs. It is a straight shootout. Winner of the block will face the winner of the other block in the grand final. So this year, there are 12 nights. A double night will open the tournament on the 2nd of August in Osaka, where we've got an afternoon and an evening show. Unlike the 5-Star Grand Prix, where we have pretty much shows almost on a daily basis, and it will alternate from one block to another block. The Dream Star is slightly different. We have got shows where it will be all matches or all blocks. So, for example, the opening night will be all competitors. Corrigan Hall on the 30th of August will be all competitors, and the final night will be all competitors, because on the final night, which again this year will be at Corrigan Hall on the 14th of September, we will have all the remaining block matches and then the final as well. Last year, if you remember, the final was held in Nagoya. This year, it will be held in Corrigan Hall. Matt, obviously, we have continued with 16 competitors, which I've made it very clear that I think that is a great number for a round robin tournament. I think, regardless of how good the first night was of the 5-Star Grand Prix, I'm still of the opinion that 32 competitors is too many. However, I cannot wait for this year's tournament, because there's so many different singles matches that we're getting for the first time. With Mayu's entrance into Marigold, obviously a lot of Mayu's matches are getting a lot of buzz. Zenka Akatsuki will be making her debut in the tournament. Seri Amoka will be making her debut. Chan Yota, who is someone that I feel like is getting forgotten about, will also be debuting in the tournament as well. Ria Sato making her first appearance after turning to the dark side of Darkness Revolution. This is a tournament I am extremely excited about. And also, before I throw to you, another thing that I'm very excited about is the fact that people who last year maybe picked up one victory, the odd 2 points here and there, your Chikagoto, your Kazuna Tanaka, Chiaki even, are in a very different position than they were last year. And I can't wait to see how they parlay that into this year's tournament.
Yeah, a lot of momentum for those, the Misa Matsui is obviously the heel turn. Ria Sato, obviously the heel turn Chiaki. And, there's a lot of momentum for these wrestlers that were kind of on the bottom, eating a lot of these L's. Again, Vittoria Yuzuki is somebody that I expect to be, going to that final night, somebody that's going to probably be close to qualifying to win said block. So a lot of great, interesting things. Chikagoto, as you mentioned before, Koki Amare, she's got a lot to prove coming back from that injury. And this will be her first really, really true test, because she hasn't had any really big singles matches since her return back in May. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting field. Obviously, you have Utami, last year's winner, who's now your champion. Mirai has a lot to prove. Mirai, ever since losing to Utami. So this is going to be a big bounce back for her. I know a lot of people have kind of circled Miko Ano. They're doing a great job building her up. Again, she defeated Nanai Takahashi in a retirement match. And, oh, by the way, the greatest women's tournament wrestler in the last 20 years, Mayu Iwatani, is in this tournament as well. So, yeah, really interesting thing. A lot of interesting matches. You're putting in Sanka in there from Marvelous, and they're doing a great job building up the Marvelous Marigold feud. So a lot of interesting matches, a lot of interesting shows, and it's going to be interesting to see how things shake out going into the final and then afterwards as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting tournament as well when you look at who's not in it. So last year we had Bozilla, we had Sari, we had Nanae Takahashi, and we also had Nori from LLPWX. And it was always going to be interesting, especially once Nanae announced her retirement. How are we going to fill these spots? And of course, we've been able to fill it with Mayu Iwatani, which is always a big thing. But then Rita Sato's done wonderful things. Obviously, the Marvelous and Marigold feud has been one of my favorite things in wrestling, regardless of promotion. I think it's been really, really, really well done. And especially for Marigold fans, has catapulted Senka into the public consciousness as well, which has really helped out as well. The return of Koki Amare from injury as well. There's lots of decent things to look forward to. We're going to go into the blocks and the competitors in a moment. Just a reminder that last year it was a 15-minute time limit for block matches. I am led to believe that there has been no change this year, so it will remain a 15-minute block time limit, and I believe it is a 30-minute time limit in the final, with last year's final, I believe, going to 18 minutes. But I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. The blocks then are split into the Dream League and the Star League, and your Dream League rundown is as follows. Utami Hayashishita, Mayu Iwatani, Victoria Yuzuki, Koki Amare, Seri Yamaoka, Chiaki, Ria Sato, and Senka Akatsuki. And then you look at Star League, Mai Sakurai, Miku Ano, Mirai, Chikagoto, Kazuna Tanaka, Misa Matsui, Nagisa Nozaki, and Chan Yota. Two very stacked blocks, Matt. And again, the difference between this and the 5-star Grand Prix, and where 3 people can go through from a block, every match counts, with there only being one person that goes through at the top of the block. And when you look at, for example, Dream League, and you've got Utami, Mayu, Victoria Yuzuki, Koki Amare was still in with a chance on the final night of the tournament last year. Like, one person goes through out of that. Star League, Mai Sakurai, Miku Ano, Mirai, 3 big hitters who are favorites to win the tournament. Never mind just get out of the block. So a lot of firepower in these tournaments where points are going to be at a premium for all competitors.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, obviously you have your favorites, the Dream League and Star League, and obviously we'll get into ours, but even like the wrestlers that we don't think are going to make it to the finals, you still have interesting matchups. Again, Seri Yamaoka and Senka, they have a crazy history, not only in the ring, but in the press conferences as well, Rob. Like, they really need to shoot something where they bump into each other at a restaurant and all of a sudden they're in their singlets. Like, just,
yeah, absolutely.
You're right. And again, I don't think Kazuna Tanaka, Misa Matsui, I don't think they're going to come out of the Star League, at least not this year. I could see in a couple of years where they may win some tournaments, but they're going to have an absolute banger of a match because of the matches we've seen them have over this past week or two. So I'm really looking forward to Misa and Kazuna Tanaka, not only in their singles matches, but what they're going to do in this tournament. Chen Yoda and Nagisa Nozaki are 2 other ones I'm really looking forward to. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Chikagoto, because there's always that one wrestler going into the final night of these tournaments that, like, I didn't expect that person to be there, but they're there. They're putting on a great tournament and they're hanging on. Can they be the big upset or upset somebody? So Chikagoto really is the wild card in that Star League. And like I said, partner, as you just said, in that Dream League, obviously Koki Amare, she has a lot to prove coming off that knee injury. Victoria Yuzuki is somebody that I think is going to just break out hugely in this tournament. But everybody's circling that big matchup in the Dream League with Utami Hayashishita and Mayu Iwatani. Again, 2 former winners of the 5-star Grand Prix, 2 former World of Stardom champions, 2 of the best ever. And these 2 have great chemistry together. Whenever they would wrestle each other, it was always must-see wrestling, and they're going to have must-see wrestling in that Dream League when they have their match coming up in just a few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, what we'll do is for each of these blocks, we'll go through each of the 8 competitors, and then at the end of the block, we'll talk about who we think is going to win the block, who our MVP is going to be, who our breakout star is going to be, and what match we are most looking forward to. But we'll start with Dream League, because why not? And what a better way to start than with last year's winner, Utami Hayashishita, the current Marigold world champion, back number 3. And Matt, she has to be considered obviously a favorite to go back to back in the tournament, knows what it takes to win tournaments. 2024 Dream Star Grand Prix winner, 2020 5-star Grand Prix winner, has won the top belts in both Marigold and Stardom. You look at her record against the competitors in her block, the only person she has dropped falls to is Mayu Iwatani. Utami is going to be there or thereabouts. You would say that if she's not there or thereabouts on the final night, when she faces Koki Amare for the second time in 2 tournaments on the final night, something has gone drastically wrong for her.
Yeah, I'm looking at her match record, or her calendar. There's not one match I'm not looking forward to. One, because it's Utami and she's great, but every single match is going to be unique in its own setting. And you look at these last 3 matches. Senka, I mean, wow, that's going to be something. Mayu, that's a big match on the 30th, and Koki Amare. My guess, Rob, is that you're going to see Utami right there towards the end. I think she beats Mayu and is going to be the number 1 seed going into that final night. But I think it's going to be Koki Amare that knocks Utami out. Thus, you will see a rematch for that Crimson Red Belt with Utami and Kokiyama. I think this is the tour. We knew going at the end of last year, going to next year, Kokiyama is going to be a big deal. And then unfortunately, she went down with that injury. This tournament is going to do a lot for Kokiyama, especially in that match with Utami on the final night. And I think you're going to see Kokiyama get a title shot after this tournament, whether it's for the red belt or whether it's for the United National Championship. I think this is going to be a tall tournament for Kokiyama, especially that last match with Utami. But you're right, Utami won this tournament last year. She's your Crimson Red Belt champion. She's your ace of the company. She's going to set the tone in that very first night, going back to back with Victoria Yuzuki and the newly christened heel Rita Saito. I'm really looking forward to what she's going to do. My prediction is just she's going to be the front runner. She's going to be the lead card going into that final night against Kokiyama, only for Kokiyama to knock her out.
Yeah, she obviously has a target on her back as being a champion, as will Mai Sakurai, as will Mayu. That opening night, Victoria Yuzuki is going to be a key one. And I think that really does set the tournament in motion, because I don't think many people are beating Utami. I actually don't think she loses to Mayu on the 30th of August in Korakuen. I think that's going to be a time limit draw, because I don't think Mayu's an interesting one, and we'll get into Mayu very shortly, but I don't think she's dropping too many falls in this tournament. The Victoria Yuzuki match, I think, is one she drops. And if you remember, Utami dropped early losses in the tournament last year. I think she lost to Mirai and Nagisa Nozaki quite early on in the tournament.
And didn't she lose, Rob? Because I'm looking at this. I'm putting the parallel towards her stardom run, right? Because she won in 2020 and then won the red belt. And then in 2021, she was the champion going in. And I think that because it's very similar. Again, she won the tournament last year.
Sure.
Now the champion in 2020, she won the 5-star and was the champion going in to 2021 5-star. I believe she lost to Mike. If anybody would know, it'd be you. You wrote a book on Amazon.
She did.
She dropped to Micah on the first night. So it can. And what did that do for Micah? Micah, I know she's on the shelf, but she's doing okay for herself over the last few years. This would do wonders for Yuzuki to defeat Utami on night one. So that's a good shout, buddy, because I think it would do a lot more for Yuzuki's career this early on to get a win over your champion who won this tournament last year on night one. Because Utami's Utami. She's going to be able to bounce back in a blink of an eye because she's, one of one. That's a good prediction, buddy. That is a really good prediction.
I mean, as well, we've been talking about Victoria Yuzuki getting elevated into that main event scene. What better way to get elevated than beating the champion and having a rematch for that Crimson Red Belt? We need challenges. I don't think Victoria Yuzuki wins that by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it's only a matter of time, but I don't think it happens yet. And something that we haven't talked about is something that we talked about in the podcast that's coming up tomorrow as we record. That Utami Hayashishita gives a lot to people in her matches. And that's why her matches with the likes of Seri Yamaoka, Senka, Koki, and Ria, I can't remember if I said Ria Saito, but Ria Saito, they're going to be really interesting to watch because Utami gives a lot to those people, and I can't wait to see that. I agree with you. I don't think she gets out of this block, but she is going to be there or thereabouts on the final night. And I think you're absolutely right, Matt. I think that is going to be stymied by this person here, the Amethyst Butterfly, Koki Amare, back number 9. That match with Utami Hayashishita on the final night, Korakuen Hall, 14th of September, is one to circle. A rematch of last year's final block action. That hasn't happened by mistake. They've scheduled that for a reason. And whether Koki gets a time limit draw or whether Koki beats Utami outright, I think Koki is the reason Utami doesn't go through. I also don't think Koki goes through either. I think she'll be in contention, certainly, and it wouldn't surprise me if she did go through, but for me, she doesn't. However, if we are looking at potential Crimson Red Belt matches for Utami, presuming that she retains at Grand Destiny against who I think both think is going to win the tournament, Victoria Yuzuki and Koki Amare are good title defenses moving forward. If those are the only 2 points that she drops, or at least losses that she sustains, Matt.
Yeah, and before I forget, buddy, I know I mentioned this when we did our 5-star prime, and I want to mention again and put you over. Great job on these slides. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, great job, breaking everything down. I mean, the effort that you put into the podcast is second to none, buddy. But again, great job. Great job there. Yeah, I think, geez, again, look at her last 3 matches. Sari, Mayu, Utami, all interesting matches. And again, Koki has a lot to prove coming off an injury. She hasn't had a big singles match since she's been back. She's looked great in the tag matches and in the 3-ways, but now it's time to ramp up. And she's going on Rhea Sato and Sanka on the very first night, going back to back there. So it's gonna be interesting to see how she holds up. I'm pretty sure she's gonna be fantastic, but I think that that match with Mayu is gonna be interesting because again, at this point is a possibility where Mayu does not drop any falls. Who's the first person to beat Mayu in
That's
Marigold?
the thing.
Is it going to be Koki Amore? What a great way to really gaslight her, and then going up against the world champion on that final night. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Rob. They do that by accident. Rossi knows what he's doing. He's booked a few of these tournaments before, and the way he booked the very first one last year was second to none. Really great how everything panned out, especially that final night was one of my, last year's finals of the Dream Star was one of my favorite wrestling shows in all of wrestling last year, not only for the wrestling but the booking. But yeah, I think she beats Utami. However, I think she's going to finish third in the block or second. Or I think it's going to be her and Utami as second, but maybe Koki would win second because of the tie break. But only one person goes through, and it might be the same person me and you have, and we'll get to that in a bit. But I think she does earn a red belt title shot coming off this tournament. And I think that she will take back that main event spot that she was so close to getting before the injury coming off this tournament. This is Koki Amore this might be the biggest tournament. Koki Amore might have the most to prove going into this tournament and then coming out of because of the injury and because where she was positioned in the company before the injury. And it's a different Marigold now because Nane is retired. Obviously, we have some heel turns, and then we have Mayu in there. So I think this is going to be a big tournament for Koki. I think there's a lot of pressure on her, but I think she's going to hit a home run, and I think she's going to come out of this as a constant main eventer like Utami, like Mirai, and like Mayu.
Yeah, we did talk, not long ago, actually, in terms of Marigold, about how the main thing over this first 2-3 years of Marigold's existence is to nurture this talent to a point where we've got bona fide main eventers. We are getting there with Miko Ueno, certainly. I'd argue that Miko Ueno is pretty much there, in fact. Koki Amore was the project without a shadow of a doubt in that first year. And, injuries never come at a good time, but that came at possibly the worst time for Koki. So, yeah, I agree. She's got, something to prove, a little bit of a chip on her shoulder, certainly. And, she was block runner-up last year. She had a great tournament in 2024. Can she follow it up in 2025? That run-in, Sari Yamaoka on the 30th at Korakuen Hall, Mayu Iwatani on the 2nd of September, and then Utami on the final night. They could be deciding matches for Koki's tournament. And a victory over Utami, if she doesn't go through, I argue would rescue the tournament for the Amethyst Butterfly. Moving on then to the one, the only, the icon of Joshi Puroresu, Mayu Iwatani, the current Superfly champion, back number 219. Has won it all, Matt Turner, in Stardom, literally a Grand Slam champion, knows what it takes to win tournaments, 5-star Grand Prix winner, Goddess of Storm Tag League winner, Cinderella tournament winner back-to-back. She knows what it takes to win tournaments. Had debuted early in May for Marigold, is yet to be pinned in Marigold, which makes this tournament very, very interesting because straight off the bat, I know that neither me or you have her winning this tournament. So somebody beats Mayu Iwatani. Who is that first person? Who is going to have the rub of pinning Mayu Iwatani, being the first person in Marigold to pin Mayu Iwatani? And if you look at her match calendar, The only people she has a record against are Utami, who she has a winning record against. Again, that match is one that is circled and underlined and exclamation marked for Korakuen Hall, Mayu versus Utami, but also against Victoria Yuzuki, who she has on the final night. Her protege on the final night of the Dream Star. Again, it's almost like this is thought out. I mean, there's a reason that's the final night as well, Matt.
Yeah, and you look at like her first two matches, she's going up against two rookies, but two rookies with that grounded style. You know what I mean? Like where they're going to try to grind Mayu down. And even Rhea Sato, a rookie as well, that does have that grounded submission style. So our first three matches are three people that are going to try to grind and slow Mayu down. And Mayu has the task to making these rookies look really, really good. And you know it's going to happen. So those first three matches are really interesting. But to answer your question, Rob, who do I think is going to be the first person to beat Mayu? I mentioned this on the podcast a couple weeks ago when they announced these blocks. I'm going to mention it now. I think Koki Amare. I think Koki Amare, if she is to get a pinfall win over Mayu and Utami in the same tournament and doesn't win, even though she doesn't win, she wins. You know what I mean? It's like I didn't win the tournament, sure, but I defeated Mayu and Utami in the same tournament.
It's what I was saying about the Utami thing. Yeah.
I think that is huge for Koki Amare, and that's only going to elevate her up. I think that Mayu has a really good shot at winning the this whole tournament. Do I think she does? No, not just yet. Stay tuned, folks. I'm going to have you on the hook. But again, just every match is going to be great because of the way these blocks are set up. Again, Brasi and whoever put these blocks together, they put them together for a reason where they're going to accentuate everybody's strengths. Again, Mayu second to none. One of the great things with Mayu going to Marigold, because she's pretty much wrestled everybody in Stardom. And even the return matches were great. But look at all these first-time matches. Sanka, Sari, Rio, Koki Amare, Chiaki. They're all matches that singles matches she's never had before. As you have here highlighted, her only constant wrestlers is Victoria Yuzuki and Utami. And you know they're going to be great. But they're all fresh matchups for Mayu. And we haven't seen Mayu have this many fresh matchups in quite some time. And you know that everybody's going to bring their best because it's Mayu, arguably the greatest in-ring women's wrestler of all time, still in her prime. So you know that even though Sanka, Sari, Koki, they're all great wrestlers and they're all going to wrestle great regardless, you know they're going to go in with a little extra pep in their step being in the ring with Mayu. So I think all these matches are going to be great. I think Mayu may come out of this as the MVP as far as match quality goes, because that's what she pretty much does every year in the 5-star. Why not? It's not going to happen in the Dream Star. Really looking forward to what her run is. But yeah, those matches with Utami and Koki are going to be really, really interesting. But I'm really excited for that first night of action with her and Sanka and her versus Sari.
Yeah, I don't think she drops a fall in this block. However, we know that Rossi Ogawa is a big exponent of the time limit draw, and I think we could see a couple of time limit draws definitely for Mayu. I wouldn't be surprised if one of those comes against Seri Amoka on the evening show of the 2nd. I also wouldn't be surprised if potentially Victoria Yuzuki. I don't think Victoria Yuzuki beats Mayu Iwatani yet. There's too much of a story going on there between the two of them to have Victoria Yuzuki pin Mayu now. Just months after Mayu's debut in Marigold. There's too much legs there, the toing and froing between Grand Slam champions and wanting to usurp Mayu as the icon and, to surpass her and her accomplishments. I think you have her beat her. It sort of negates the story a little bit. A time limit draw, maybe. I don't think Victoria Yuzuki defeats her. I think if you're looking at possible pinfalls, look at Seri Amoka. Utami, maybe, even though I'm not sure, and Koki Amare are the three to look at. But again, what I will say is that everyone in that block will have their best match against Mayu Iwatani.
Yep, I agree.
And not just because she is the greatest wrestler of all time, in my opinion. I know I am slightly biased, but because of the way she sells, and she said in interviews, she knows she sells really well. Because of the way she sells, everyone is elevated. And the way that she elevates people, the likes of a Rhea Sato, the likes of a Seri, the likes of a Chiaki, they are going to have if not the best singles match of their career, certainly one of the singles matches of their career against Mayu. And that's something that I'm really excited to look at. Obviously, we'll go through our block predictions at the end. Moving on then to the future, the bridge to the future. In fact, Victoria Yuzuki, back number one, had a mixed tournament last year, finishing on 5 points. Will definitely want to improve that tally here. And as you can see from her match calendar, doesn't have the greatest of records against people in her block, with the exception of one victory apiece against Chiaki and Ria Sato. Starting against Utami on the 2nd of August, that is a key match for Victoria Yuzuki, and one that as I mentioned before, when we looked at Utami, I can see Victoria Yuzuki getting the win there, then going 2-0 against Chiaki and ending that double header at the top of the block with 4 points. Victoria Yuzuki has been very, very forthcoming in what she wants in Marigold. She wants to be the number one. She wants to be the top of this company. Though I don't think she's quite there yet, this could be a breakout tournament for her where we do see her as one of those real top main event players. I think she'll stumble towards the end. Maybe there's a reason that Senka Akatsuki match is the 30th of August. There's a reason that's in Korakuen Hall. The Mayu Iwatani match, which again we've already highlighted on the 14th of September in Korakuen Hall, potential stumbling block there. Koki Amare, the 22nd of August, another stumbling block. And we know that there is an ongoing friendly rivalry, shall we say, between her and Seri Yamaoka. And that's certainly a match to highlight for the 10th of August. I think Victoria Yuzuki goes off like a house on fire. I think she wins those 2 opening matches, Utami and Chiaki. But I do think that she will get brought back down to earth. And I think that losing to Mayu on the final night will stop her going through.
When you look at her tournament, again, if you're watching this on YouTube, you look at her match calendar. She's booked in with, in my opinion, the 2 best wrestlers in this company with Utami and Mayu. So she's starting hot and she's ending hot. There's a good possibility, Rob, that that match with Mayu could be a playoff. That could be like the play-in. Like Utami and Koki may knock each other out, and that might be like the winner of this goes through. It's a possibility there. And the fact that she has Senka in Korakuen Hall, which is kind of where we're really gaslighting this feud with Marvelous. Again, there's a reason why they did that there. Maybe that's a stumbling block for her. I don't know. That Utami match when he first popped up, like, that's a dub for Utami. And you really got in my head that I'm like, Victoria Yuzuki gets a win here, really going to help her out. And then I was drawing parallels to 2020, 2021 Utami. I'm like, that's a possibility. So now I don't know. I think that she does come out of this with way more than 5 points. She's definitely going to be in contention going to that final night, because if not, then why are we putting that Mayu match on last? Like, there's a reason why they put that match on last. I think she will finish either second or third in this block. Obviously I think it's going to be Utami, Mayu, Koki Amare, and Victoria Yuzuki. I think those are your 1 through 4s. And again, I think that match with Mayu is going to be a tell-all. It's going to be a must-win shootout on that final night. It's not going to just be a throwaway. Like, Mayu's automatically advancing. This match is just for fun. No, there's going to be for some stakes. But I agree. I think she's going to be somebody that you can push to the card, up the card after this tournament. Somebody that's going to dabble in the main events, for a white belt shot, for a red belt shot. Again, you're right. If she beats Utami, it's going to be a great match. If she beats Utami, who's not going to want to see that run back for the richest prize? And it's right there. The story tells itself. So, I'm really looking forward to Victoria Yuzuki's tournament, because she's somebody that has improved so much over the last year, and she's catching this, this wave of momentum right at the right time going into her loaded block in the Dream League.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to a match with Seri Yamaoka as well. There's obviously, we talked a lot about the future of Marigold on the previous podcast, or the future podcast, depending on when you're listening to this. And Seri and Victoria Yuzuki are very much at the forefront of that future of Marigold, and to see them square off again, don't be surprised if that's another time limit draw. And that potentially is going to be Victoria Yuzuki's first stumbling block. It wouldn't surprise me. She beats Utami, maybe with the rolling arrow, beats Chiaki with that new finisher that she's promised she's going to debut, and then Seri Yamaoka takes her to the limit on the 10th of August. Again, I absolutely agree with you. I think she's going to be there or thereabouts, but I don't think she gets through just yet. And if she does get through to the final, she doesn't win it anyway. But this could well be the breakout tournament for Victoria Yuzuki, which is wild because she's already used as a main event player, but I don't think she's quite seen on the level as a Utami, as a Mirai, or a Miku Ano, for example. And I think this tournament could do wonders to elevate her up to that standard. Moving on then, I thought it was Seri Yamaoka next. It's not, it's Ria Sato. Moving on to Ria Sato then. Tournament debut, obviously, brand new gimmick as well. Matt, it's a tough league to get into, even tougher league to get out of. Won via a last chance playoff to get into this. How do you think she does?
I think as far as wrestling wise goes, she'll have great matches. I mean, again, she set up with Kokiamare Utami right off the get go, so she'll have great matches. As far as points goes, maybe she gets a win against Chiaki. I don't see her beating Senka. I don't see her beating Yuzuki. Not unless Yuzuki's leading the block and she upsets Yuzuki. That's a possibility. She can be the spoiler. But I don't see her getting more than 4 points. I think she's gonna have great matches with everybody because Ria Sato's fantastic. And again, she's another one because of the heel turn that we're going to kind of put an extra eye on. We're going to see how she does in this tournament. But I think that once this tournament is all said and done, even though I think she's going to be looking at the lights more often than not in this tournament, I think that she'll come out as a much better wrestler.
So looking at her match calendar, who are the ones that you sort of sense that she might be picking up those victories? Obviously, someone has got to finish last in the block, and Senka, for example, is the one that you're sort of gravitating towards because she's the rookie. But, matches against Seri Yamaoka and Victoria Yuzuki are where she might pick up the odd point. Ria Sato is another one who is going to be, unfortunately, towards the foot of that block. Potentially, Chiaki is someone that she could pick up points against in Korakuen Hall. Obviously, it's going to be interesting to see how Darkness Revolution versus Darkness Revolution does go ahead. But aside from that, maybe Senka Akatsuki. I don't really see Ria Sato picking up points at all, really.
I think that match with Yuzuki, because it's the penultimate match, it's going to be really interesting because we always see in these tournaments, Rob, whether it's New Japan, All Japan, Stardom, that as you're getting towards the end, you always see somebody kind of stumble a little. It's always maybe somebody with a whole bunch of points that loses to somebody with not a lot of points, rolling them up. We know Ria Sato can do that. I would not be shocked if she does upset Victoria Yuzuki. That could be the upset going towards those last few nights. That kind of is the bump in the road that holds Yuzuki off from winning this tournament. But I see Chiaki. The Senka one, I'm not sure of. I think Seri picks up the win, but I would not be shocked if she does defeat Victoria Yuzuki. So keep your eye out on that as we get towards the tournament's end.
And that is a match we should highlight, the 2nd of September, Victoria Yuzuki, because, of course, who was it that Ria Sato hit with the chair when she turned heel and joined Darkness Revolution? Who was it that she said she wanted to surpass? Because, making the whole reason she turned heel because she wanted to surpass two people who, of course, are in that block, Seri Yamaoka, Victoria Yuzuki. Do I see her pinning Seri Yamaoka? No. Do I see her potentially extending that feud with Victoria Yuzuki with a cheeky win? Of course, now with Darkness Revolution, there could be interference. We saw that with Mirai and Nagisa Nozaki in last year's tournament when they ended in a double countout because Chiaki got involved. Maybe we could see that here, and maybe that is where she gets a surprise win over Victoria Yuzuki, and maybe that's why it's between her and Mayu Iwatani on the final night. It's an interesting thought.
Or maybe, Rob, this whole Megaton throwing her out was a red herring, and she's in the back pocket of Darkness Revolution the whole entire time, and she helps Chiaki and Ria get a couple wins. Can you imagine? Like the whole entire time, like she rips off the yellow thing, and then she's back to all black. Like, oh man!
Imagine that'd be so cool. Moving on then from Ria Sato, we move on to Marvelous's rookie Senka Akatsuki, who has made quite the impression since blowing onto the Marigold scene at Corrigan Hall in that amazing twin star title match. Again, no record against anyone in this tournament in singles action, but with what she has been able to do, and bearing in mind this is a woman who got an entire Las Vegas venue literally rocking at 1 o'clock in the morning because she bridged out of a pinfall.
From Aja Kong.
From Aja Kong. It fantastic. The atmosphere was incredible for that show. But this girl has a lot of talent. A lot of talent. I don't think she picks up a lot of victories here. However, that Victoria Yuzuki match in Corrigan Hall on the 30th of August, that match against Seriyama Oka on the 2nd of September, that, those matches that she has already named, she's got her eye on Seriyama Oka as being the future of Marigold. She's got her eye on Victoria Yuzuki for the same reason. Those are matches to keep an eye on. And I can see one, if not both, going to sort of either, if not time limit draws, then certainly double count outs or something like that. I don't think she wins many matches. Again, unfortunately, I do see Chiaki being at the foot of the block again. Maybe that's where Senka Akatsuki on that final night in Corrigan Hall on the 14th of September, maybe that's where Senka maybe picks up a couple of points. I don't see her picking up more than maybe 3. I see her maybe picking up 1 victory, 1 draw, and that's it. Otherwise, she will put on fantastic performances. That match with Mayu on the opening night, absolutely. Give me more. That match with Utami on the 22nd of August, absolutely, I'm here for it. And then, of course, those 2 aforementioned matches against Yuzuki and Seriyama Oka. But again, don't quite think she'll be making it out of this block, Matt.
No, I think she'll have her best match with Utami. I think Utami's going to make sure she can. They kind of have the same style, that hard-hitting style. And Utami loves taking the rookies and having great matches with. So that's a match, probably her match I'm looking forward to the most. Obviously, we've gaslighted her in Seriyama Oka, so that's going to be a really, really fun one. I don't know which way that's going to go. I can see her getting the win over Rhea Sato. However, again, you have all the members of Darkness Revolution Army that may trip up Senka there. Chiaki as well. So depending on how those go, I completely agree with you. I don't see her getting a lot of wins, but she's in a block with some great wrestlers. Again, Mayu, Utami, Koki Amare, all matches I'm looking forward to. Her and Rhea Sato have similar styles. That's going to be a really fun match to watch out for. And I'm so glad Senka's in this tournament, because I had maybe about a month or so ago, one of our listeners sent me a message and said, Matt, who do you think is the best rookie in all of Joshi? And I'm going through all the ones in Stardom and Marigold because that's what our expertise is. And I was like, I think it's Senka. Like, no disrespect to all the amazing rookies that we're so blessed to see in Joshi. That's just unbelievable how far they progress so fast. But I'm like, I think it's Senka. And she doesn't do any moonsaults. She doesn't do any 450s. Like, she's not flashy. She's over with pro wrestling. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube, her signature offense, shoot pin, lariat, scoop slam, drop kick. It's a very basic wrestler. But when you do the basics well and you understand how to use them, you can get anything over. You can get a headlock over. You can get a kick out over, which Senka knows. And again, Senka was trained by Chigusa Nagao. She's adopted the same look and singlet of Chigusa Nagao, arguably the most over and biggest drawing Joshi in the history of pro wrestling. There's a reason why they did that, Rob. There's a reason why they did that. And only in her first year, the world is a buzz of Senka. I'm so excited what she's going to do in this tournament, but I agree, 4 or 5 points, probably finish somewhere in the middle.
Moving on then to the Howling Dark Wolf Chiaki, back number 89, had a poor tournament last year. 2 points, 1 victory and 1 victory only. She will again be looking to improve on that, but has a poor record against those people in this tournament. I don't see, simply because, again, both of these blocks are absolutely loaded. I don't see Chiaki picking up that many wins. However, and this is something that I only really thought of with the Rhea Sato conversation, with Darkness Revolution potentially at ringside, that brings an all new dimension to her matches, because actually with that interference, she could potentially beat anybody. Seri Yamaoka on the opening night, the 2nd of August, in the day, and Victoria Yuzuki in the night. I've pegged Victoria Yuzuki to beat Chiaki clean on that evening show on the 2nd of August. And actually, if Nagisa Nozaki's at ringside, or Misa Matsui's at ringside, or even Ria Sato, that actually might be a win for Chiaki. The numbers game, the cheating, and that makes it very, very difficult to beat in certain aspects. Again, if they do it in every match, it becomes very much like Bullet Club in G1 Climax 28 and becomes very repetitive. However, in the odd match, certainly makes her a dangerous person to face, especially if you are towards the end of the tournament, like Mayu Iwatani on the 6th of September. That becomes a very difficult match to beat.
How funny would it be if she loses to everybody and the only people she beats are Utami and Mayu, like your two A++
It could
players?
happen, man.
Yeah, who knows? Again, very much like a Ria Sato. I don't expect her to have a lot of wins, but you're right. They do have the cheating aspect, the numbers game. They're the only faction in Marigold. Maybe that's what they do. And not only that in the Dream League, but we'll talk about in the Star League. It can possibly happen there as well with Nagisa. So I'm really looking forward to see what she's going to do. Wrestling wise, she's going to have great matches because she's constantly getting better. I still think her best spot in this company right now is teaming with Nagisa as they should be making the run for the Twin Star. I think she's a great singles wrestler, but I think she's a better tag wrestler. But there are a lot of matches here that really accentuate her positives. A lot of hard-hitting stuff with Utami, with Sanka, and Sari. I think she'll have a good wrestling tournament, Rob, but I think she'll probably be towards the end, probably mirroring that 1-6 record, unfortunately, from last year.
Yeah, again, someone has got to finish bottom of the block. And unfortunately, at the moment, Chiaki fits that bill. Someone who doesn't fit that bill is the last person we're going to be talking about from Dream League, and that is the super rookie Seri Yamaoka, back number 18. Made quite the splash since her debut on the 3rd of January and is already a former Marigold Twin Star champion. And again, has the ability to beat anybody in this block. I mean, even though she's got the amateur background that we've seen her use multiple times, she has been really, really good recently at developing that defensive side of her wrestling. She's become more aggressive in her offense, which we've seen on countless occasions with the drop kicks and things like that, putting more, for lack of a better phrase, stank on it, but also putting more emotion into the selling and things like that. The mechanics of wrestling she's got down, the sort of nuances, I think, is something that she's worked really, really hard to perfect. She's going to be the surprise package in this tournament and certainly in this block anyway. And I think we are going to see some brilliant matches from Seri. Again, that 2nd of August match against Mayu Iwatani on the evening show, the rematch with Victoria Yuzuki on the 10th of August. Obviously, people's eyes are going to be drawn to the Utami match on the 16th, and then Koki Amare in Korakuen Hall. Seri's an interesting one because she could legitimately be the middle of the pack. She could be fighting for a spot in the final come the final night against Ria Sato. She's someone that could go either way. Something that I don't think is up for debate is that, as you mentioned with Chiaki, she's going to have a really good wrestling tournament. And I think we are going to see a real breakout tournament for the super rookie here.
Yeah, I'm obviously a massive fan of her style, like that shoot style, that amateur style. The way she could just ragdolls people, and she's able to use that amateur style to grind people down to go for that leg lace, the arm bars, and the ankle locks. I think that like her match with Ria Sato, that's going to be really good because we've seen them have really great chemistry. Obviously, Utami match, a lot of people are looking forward to. Probably Korakuen with Koki Amare. I think that match may steal that loaded Korakuen call card at the end of next month. And obviously the Sanka, they built their stuff up. I think Seri's somebody that's going to finish maybe 5 or 6 points. I think she'll be in contention going into that second to last night. But I just think with the firepower that is Yuzuki, Mayu, Koki, and Utami, like those four, and considering again, it's no surprise that they did matched up on that final night, Mayu, Yuzuki, and then Koki and Utami. Like that's going to kind of be your makeshift playoff going into that final night. But I think Seri will be right around there. I think she'll be probably maybe finished below those four going into that final night. I think she'll be eligible. And then I think that the second to last night, I think is when she'll get knocked out. And it might be Sanka that knocks her out. Like, what if she's there or thereabouts, and then Sanka is the one that kind of beats her and kind of knocks her out of play? Then just keep putting more gas on there, and then they do a return match, putting more gas onto the feud that is Sari versus Sanka, and it's Marigold versus Marvelous, and it's Super Rookie versus Super Rookie. Easy story to tell. But I expect her to have a really great wrestling tournament and for her to pick up some points. But I don't see her finishing the top of the block. Again, probably 5 or 6.
Wouldn't surprise me if she ends up level third, something like that. So maybe loses out on tiebreakers and things like that. I think she beats Chiaki on the opening show, that day show in Osaka on the 2nd of August. I think she'll probably end up losing to Mayu, maybe going to a time limit draw, though. So keep an eye on that match, because I genuinely think that could be one of the matches of the tournament. I think she'll go to a time limit draw against Victoria Yuzuki as well. I don't think they're quite ready to give either one a victory. I think having them go to another draw and have them be inseparable could be a really good story to tell. I don't think she beats Utami. I think Koki, again, if we are looking at really accelerating Koki Amare back on that card to where she was before the injury, she needs to have a good tournament, and that includes, unfortunately, beating Seri. I think she probably beats Sanka, and then maybe Rhea Sato is the one that cheats to win or gets Dance Revolution involved to win, and that stops Seri going through, something like that. Anyway, I think she will have a fantastic tournament. And again, those matches against Mayu, Yuzuki, and Utami are ones to keep an eye on, certainly. Now, Matt Turner, that does bring us to an end of Dream League. And what I'm really intrigued about is, who do you have winning this Dream League?
I think it's got to be former Intercontinental Champion, the Mountie. He always gets his man. The closest thing to the Mountie in this tournament is my pick to win. All joking aside,
Ow.
I don't know. It's like I said, it's hot in here. It's Mayu. I think Mayu's going to win the Dream League. I think that it's her first tournament. A lot of fanfare for Mayu coming in for obvious reasons. I think Mayu gets out of the Dream League, and there's a very good possibility, as you said, partner, that she gets out of this undefeated. Like maybe a draw, maybe a double count out, maybe something like that. It is a good possibility she gets out of this undefeated going into the grand final. But I think it's Mayu coming out of the Dream League that basically wins the Dream League.
I agree with you. I actually don't think Mayu drops a fall in this league. I think she will have a couple of time limit draws, as I mentioned. Maybe against Sari Amoka. I don't know why I'm gravitating towards that match, but just something about that. Maybe even against Koki Amare. But I don't think she drops a fall here. And there is a reason for that. We've talked a lot about who is going to be the first person to pin Mayu. You need to think about who that first person is going to be. I don't think that Mayu match should be the one where Rhea Sato cheats to win. That's something we keep in the back pocket for someone to potentially beat her in the final. But we'll get into that very shortly, because I actually think me and you have got the same final. Who is your MVP of this block?
I mean, how do you not say Mayu? Like, as far as, you know what I mean? It's just like, she's the best. She's the best. But as far as like, I hope Kokiyama has an amazing tournament. Again,
sure.
It broke our heart that when she, tore out her knee at the beginning of the year, because there's big plans for her, and rightfully so. I'm hoping that she has a great tournament, but just to be different, I think Mayu's gonna have the best matches. But maybe just to be different, I'm going to say Sanka. Why not? Why not? Everybody loves Sanka. I love her shoot style pro wrestling. I'm going to say Sanka is kind of the breakout star / MVP. Just not to say, just to be different and not say Mayu.
What about your breakout star?
Yuzuki.
Yeah, I'm getting Seri. I think it could be between those two. I think if this was a year later, we could be talking about Rhea Sato. But I think there's just so much firepower in this tournament.
Sure.
And finally, give me a match you're looking forward to the most. And it can't be Utami versus Mayu, because we're all looking forward to that match.
Let's go with Sanka and Utami.
Yeah, the couple that I've actually got are Seri versus Yuzuki and Senka versus Seri Amoka as well. Both those matches promise to be very, very good. I'm really excited for those. Again, Dream League, there's so much firepower in there. You look at those first five: Utami, Mayu, Victoria Yuzuki, Koki, and Seri Amoka. Any of those could win this league, and I don't think anyone would complain. I'm sure someone would because people will always complain, but you get my drift.
Yes, sir.
But moving on to Star League, then, just a reminder of who is in the Star League: my Sakurai, Mikuano, Mirai, Chika Goto, Kazuna Tanaka, Misa Matsui, Nagisa Nozaki, and Chan Yota. We are going to go into Star League now, and we're going to start with the current Marigold United national champion. Back number 8, it is the Super Lady of the Ring, Mai Sakurai, last year's finalist, obviously losing out to Utami in the final. She'll be looking to go one better this year. Opens up a tournament against friend Chan Yota on the 2nd of August in the day show. Then has Nagisa Nozaki on the 2nd of August night show. And Matt, I was thinking about this the other day. This is very much the ghosts of Mai Sakurai's past. Because if you look at who she's beaten in terms of white belt matches, Chan Yota, beating her in a white belt match. Nagisa Nozaki, beating her in a white belt match. Chika Goto, beating her in a white belt match. Misa Matsui, beating her in a white belt match. Miko Ano, beating her in a white belt match. There are people queuing up to take on Mai Sakurai. And we talk about run-ins. We talked about run-ins during the Dream League and people's last matches. Mai Sakurai's final 2 matches of this tournament are Mirai on the 30th of August at Korakuen Hall, by the way, and then Miko Ano on the 14th of September at Korakuen Hall, by the way. So what a pair of matches they are. Again, she's going to have a target on her back. As a champion, people are going to want a shot at that belt, Matt.
Yeah, again, obviously doing a phenomenal job as United National Champion. She's the most decorated champion in this company because she has 2 championships. You know, she was the first Twin Star Tag League, made it to the finals of this tournament last year. She's the current United National Champion and one half of the first Twin Star Champion. So you can make an argument in the first year of Marigold, she's the most, winningest celebrated wrestler because of all of her big wins. And again, we talked about it when we talked about the Dream League. That final night, Rossi didn't just throw matches to throw matches. It's her and Miko Ano on that final night. Her and Miko Ano had, in my opinion, not only the best United National Championship match, but one of the best matches in Marigold's history. That match on First Stream at the beginning of this year was unbelievable. Really next level stuff. I think I'm looking at this. I think Chika Goto, the TLD, and then I think she's going to be undefeated going into Mirai. I think Mirai beats her, and then her and Miko Ano is basically your playoff match. I think that's what's going to come down to. And I think you see Miko Ano get that win back that she lost at the beginning of the year, because again, we're putting a lot of steam on Miko Ano. They did not put her in the main event of the last pay-per-view to defeat Nanae Takahashi in front of 2,500 people on her retirement match for nothing. There's clear planted seeds. And again, that final night, there's a reason why they have Miko Ano up against your United National Champion. Again, one of the best matches in Marigold short history at the beginning of the year. They're going to replay it on that last night. Miko Ano. We talk about all the time. We talk about 5-star Grand Prix. And I'm going to do a roundtable discussion with Andy Header this week. Who had the best final night in the history of the 5-star? You look at Mayu 2018, Han in 2019, Utami 2020, Shuri in 2021, so on and so forth. There's a very good possibility, Rob, the way this shakes out, because I think me and you have the same final, that we're, pardon me, I'm excited. We're going to be talking about Miko Ano's final night in the Dream Star 2025 for years to come, like how we talk about Shuri and Julie in 2021, 2022, respectively. The way it's, and again, we'll get into it with Miko Ano, but I think Mai Sakurai, you're right, she's got a target on her back, but she's got, again, if you're watching this on YouTube, there's a lot of green in those, a lot of winning records she has. But I think that she beats Chan Yota, she beats Nagisa, TLD with Chika Goto, beats Misa, beats Kazuna Tanaka, loses to Mirai, and loses to Miko Ano on that final night. But I think she's just going to have an absolutely banger of a tournament.
Agreed. Mai Sakurai can do very little wrong at the moment. I feel like we've said this before in terms of improved wrestlers. Mai Sakurai is out in front by a country mile, and in terms of people who have embraced the transition from Stardom to Marigold, Mai Sakurai again is out in front by an absolute country mile. It's like she's a different person. Never mind, just a different wrestler. 11 points last year. Only lost one match before the final, which was obviously an impressive feat. I don't think that she will be in contention in the final night. And the only reason I say that is because she's a champion, and I think that they'll want to give someone the rub over Mai Sakurai. I think that Mika Wano gets a time limit draw against Mai Sakurai on the final night, and that will be what gets Mika Wano through. Spoilers. She will need to get a point against Mai Sakurai to go through. However, I think Mai Sakurai drops a fall to either Misa Matsui or Kazuna Tanaka. And that will set up a white belt match. I think Misa Matsui is the great disruptor in this block because, again, she can beat anybody in this block. She can also lose to anybody in this block, as I've mentioned before, but she could beat anyone in this block and it'd be believable. I think Kazuna Tanaka's the one, though. I think she rolls her up. With the Redream, sets up a white belt match and gives her that opportunity. Because again, Mai Sakurai doesn't need to get through to the final, doesn't need to make it through to a second final in a row. However, you give a victory to someone like a Kazuna Tanaka, you give her the white belt match, you give her that platform. It's exactly what we were talking about with Victoria Yuzuki in the red belt. It's that platform and saying, right, okay, here you go. We've seen it with Chika Goto. Here's the platform, sink or swim. And Chika Goto swam. Let's see what Kazuna Tanaka can do. Both me and you are huge fans of Kazuna Tanaka, and I think that could be a platform for her. I agree with you. I think Mirai beats her on the 30th of August, and the reason I think that happens is because I think that's what the white belt match will be in Ryogoku.
I agree.
And I think Mirai beats Mai Sakurai for the belt in Ryogoku. What? Jesus Christ. Like, I'm just thinking about what my potential card could be for Grand Destiny. And again, I'm talking a lot about cards of the bloody year. That could legitimately be the best show of the year. If it pans out how I think it could pan out. But yeah, a really good tournament I anticipate for Mai Sakurai. I don't think she's going to be in contention come the final night. I think a loss to Kazuna Tanaka, a loss to Mirai. I actually don't think she beats Chanyocha. I think I'll go to a time limit draw. But again, I think big wins in there against Nagisa Nozaki, Chika Goto, and Misa Matsui in the interim. Moving on, then, we are going to be looking at the Daughter of the Soul, back number 17, Mirai. Talked about her just, I think she is going to be there or thereabouts. She's the nearly story of Marigold. Nearly won the red belt against Utami Hayashishita. Had a fairly miserable time in last year's Dream Star Grand Prix, despite getting that key victory over Utami. Really did fall off towards the end and was actually out of contention by the final night. But I think he's going to be in the conversation, certainly, on the final night. In fact, I believe, spoilers, it's going to be between Mirai and Mika Wano as to who wins the Star League. And that's where that second match of Mirai's really comes out. The 0-1-7 record against Mika Wano, never having pinned Mika Wano, by the way. The 2nd of August night show. Jesus, what a match that's going to be. And let's not sleep on that match that she's got first up. Chika Goto in the day show. This brand new Chika Goto, this determined, resilient, fiery Chika Goto, I'm all here for it. And that's going to be really exciting. Misa Matsui is someone I think might roll up Mirai. What do you think?
Oh, I think it's going to be interesting because you have the speed versus the power. Like, that's going to be an interesting matchup. I don't think there's anybody that has a tougher first day than Mirai, Chika Goto, and Miko Ano. And again, I'm looking at this graphic with the 0-1-7, 7 draws, her and Miko Ano. I think she starts off 2-0. I know there's a lot of Mirai fans that whenever she gets so close and then loses, they get really upset. I think the Mirai fans are going to be throwing babies in the air, throwing flowers in the air. They're going to be, because I think she's going to get a win over Chikagoto. I think she's going to get a win over Miko Ano, and I think she's going to get a win over Mai Sakurai again, because I think that is going to set up that match probably in Ryugoku. I think it's a possibility comes down to her and Miko Ano on that final night, with her having the tiebreaker over Miko Ano. But I think it's Chan Yoda. I think Chan Yoda gets a big win. And then if Mirai does defeat Mai Sakurai and Ryugoku, again, we're fantasy booking now into the fall, Chan Yoda could be a really good V1 or V2 for Mirai. Yeah. There's a lot that they can do with Mirai. I'm really looking forward to what she does. Again, a murderous route. She could go to Miko Ano. Nagisa Nozaki, that is going to be hard hitting, plus the interference. Can't wait
for that.
Really great stuff. Again, her and Mai Sakurai, we talk about it all the time. Not only great, in the same corner, but great across from the ring. The Misa Matsui one's going to be interesting because she can always roll you up and spoil everything. And then her and Kazuna Tanaka are just going to wail each other towards the end of the tournament, as well as Chan Yoda. I'm so excited for Mirai's tournament to really set up for her to have a fantastic tournament, not only wrestling-wise, but points-wise as well. I don't think she makes it to the final, but I think she's going to get a white belt shot coming out of this. And then finally getting that really big singles win that we've all been waiting for, my friend. And again, you can set up potential challengers coming off that with this tournament, like I said, with Chan Yoda. So again, who does not love Mirai? A lot of hard-hitting action, a lot of lariats that are going to be thrown, and super excited to see what number 17 does in this year's tournament.
I agree with everything you've just said. I think those opening two matches on the first night, Chikagoto and Miko Ano, both wins for Mirai. I think that's a crucial tiebreaker, but then we'll lose to Chan Yota on the line. And that's a match I'm really looking forward to in Korakuen Hall on that final night. Talk about power versus power. There's very few people that can match Mirai's strength in terms of just lariats and stuff. I cannot wait to see what Chan Yota can do, because just recently, I know that Sonny mentioned on commentary in Korakuen Hall that she's prepping for a bodybuilding contest. So she's currently cutting. Jesus, she is absolutely shredded. And we'll see on the render in a moment. She's absolutely cut to hell. So that's going to be great. That match with Nagisa Nozaki on the 10th of August. Now, last year, if you remember, it ended in a double count out after interference. If that's just a straight up match, that could be fantastic. If you remember, one of my matches of the year, of the tournament last year, was Mirai versus Koki Amare, where they literally just beat the hell out of each other the entire way around Sendai Pit.
They did like two moves. It was like chop, boot, lariat. That's all that it was. And it was still great. Because I remember I watched it I think that day. And then I remember I was over my mother-in-law's and you just kept texting me. And I was just like, oh, is everything okay at Rob's? Like, oh my God, you're not kidding. They did like 3 or 4 moves. And it was the most violent and best match because, again, how you do it. You don't have to do all the flashy stuff. It's how you do it. And the timing, the psychology, the story they told, was absolutely right. And they may have that match with Nagisa. I don't think it's going to be a straight up match. I think you're going to see a lot of bending and breaking the rules of Darkness Revolution Army. Because again, I don't see any of these 4 members of Darkness Revolution being in contention towards that final night. But I think what they can do is get the faction over by doing the dastardly things that heels do, Rob Goodwin.
Yeah, quite possibly. And I think Mirai might fall foul of that. However, I can dream of a clean match there, because if it is a clean match, that could be very violent and very exciting. But yeah, those first 3 matches, followed by the 4th against Mai Sakurai on the 30th of August in Korakuen Hall. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that's your white belt match moving forward. The Mirai Saku tag team. We've seen them team. We've seen Mai Sakurai have a wonderful run with the pure white belt. I think she'll probably have one more defense between the final of the Dream Star and Ryogoku. Kazuna Tanaka, maybe. Come on. And then obviously Mirai takes the belt off her. I think that could be something we do, definitely. Moving on then to Miko Ano, the Brilliant Future, number 39. And spoilers, my favorite to not only win the block, but win the tournament. And I believe that my comrade in Joshi Arms probably feels the same as well. Look, Miko Ano has been tremendous. Not only was she the first Marigold United national champion, but whenever she has been tasked with a match, whether that is a tag match, a multi-woman match, a 3-way, or a singles match, she has always, always delivered. She is Miss Consistency in this company. She is a leader in this company. And when Marigold were going through one of the worst injury crises I've ever seen. It was ridiculous. It seemed to be every single day someone else went out. It was like the Stardom 5-star Grand Prix in 2023 all over again. Miko Ano was the constant in that company. Obviously had that phenomenal match of the year contender against Nanae Takahashi. She was given the honor and the responsibility of retiring a Joshi living legend. And I think this is the time now that we get Miko Ano on the big stage, given that big victory. Today, we saw teased Utami versus Miko Ano. And rather than it just being through exchanges, an actual head-to-head after the match. We tease that because, honestly, I think that's where we're going for Ryogoku. I think Miko Ano wins this block, as we are going to talk about very, very shortly. I think she wins the Dream Star, becoming the first person to pin Mayu Iwatani, because, again, she's already retired Nanae Takahashi. How do you cement her superstar status? By becoming the first person to pin Mayu Iwatani and then going on to face Utami in a match that we haven't seen yet. We all want to see because they've held off on it like a very good booking company. And we then get that fantastic match as well. I mean, her run is tremendous. Those two, that opening night you talked about, Mirai having a difficult opening night, opens with Misa Matsui in the day show and Mirai in the night show. That's a tricky night. And then she follows that up with Chan Yota as well. So Miko Ano for me is the favorite to win the tournament. I think a lot of people are of the same opinion that she is a favorite to win the tournament. And Matt, I think her versus Mayu in the final, if that's where they go, boy howdy, is that going to be a match and a half.
Hot take. I think every one of her matches is a draw, and yet she still goes through. I think she still goes through.
7 points.
There it is. There it is. I think that she'll split the first day. I think she'll beat Misa. She'll lose to Mirai because Mirai is Mirai needs that big win. And again, how you're going to catapult to Mirai to that white belt shot without winning the tournament right there. And then I think she'll probably run the rest of the tournament, maybe TLD with Goto or Nagisa. And again, that the tall tales her and Mai Sakurai at the end, the final night. I think that is going to be, she'll need to win that match to make it to the final. I agree. I think she does make it to the final. But I think Mirai, I think it will do a lot for Mirai. So say Miko Ano does go to the final and say she does win the whole entire thing, and you have Mirai as maybe only one of two, or maybe the only person to pin her clean. That's going to help Mirai's case to finally getting a white belt shot. So I think that would get Mirai over as well. You know they're going to have a great match because their chemistry is out of this world. But I think I see Miko Ano not only advancing to the final, but her picking up some big major wins. And again, I made mention in it when we talked about Mai Sakurai. If it is Miko Ano, it is going to be Miko Ano, Mai Sakurai on the final night. But if it is Miko Ano, either Utami or Mayu on that final night, we're going to be talking about Miko Ano's final night in 2025 for years and years to come. And that's exactly what you want. Because again, we talk about Mayu's final night in 2018 all the time. Her and Momo, and then her and Rookie Utami on that final night. Here we are 7 years later, still talking about it. And I think 6, 7, 8 years from now, when we talk about Miko Ano's final night in the Dream Star, if that's the way it shakes out. Again, I only see her losing to Mirai, maybe a TLD. And then again, I think her and Sakurai is going to be a shootout on that final night. But I see Miko Ano not only picking up a ton of points, but having some really great matches. Like that match with her and Kazuna Tanaka is going to be amazing. Right up my alley. A lot of kicks, a lot of hard hitting. And her niece, Nagisa Nozaki, I see Nagisa cheating quite a bit. Only for her maybe one too many times, an accidental, briefcase shot or whatever gimmick that they're using to cheat to cost Nagisa that match. Her and Chika Goto on that penultimate night is going to be really interesting. Again, I can see that going to a TLD, and then she absolutely needs to defeat Sakurai to make it to the final. But those last two matches are really interesting for me, but I do see Miko Ano getting her hand raised quite a bit in this tournament.
Yeah, he talking about her final night of the Dream Star, talking about her 2025. I think we're going to be doing a lot. Like you think about the match with Mai Sakurai, which was tremendous. Her match with Nanae, which was tremendous. Her tournament is going to be fantastic, which we know. You know, the final with whoever she has the final against, and then inevitably her match against Utami or Ryogoku. If all this comes to pass, we could be talking this as an all-timer year for anyone in Joshi. Like, again, every time Mika Wano is tasked with something, she's knocked it out of the park. And I think she has earned the tournament victory, to be perfectly honest. And again, it's going to be hard fought. You know, a match with Chan Yota on the 30th of August in Korakuen Hall is going to be a hard fought match. You've already highlighted that match with Kazuna Tanaka on the 2nd of September. I think their styles really do complement each other. And I think Kazuna Tanaka is going to be a surprise package in this tournament. Very excited for Mika Wano's run. Really excited. And that final night against Mai Sakurai, it's going to be great. Moving on then to perhaps the most shredded on the roster, and that is Chan Yota, who makes her tournament debut this year. Chan Yota is an interesting one, Matt, because for varying reasons, she could be there or thereabouts because, as I've said multiple times, I could see her beating anyone on this roster. It's not a case of, yeah, but she's not going to beat Mika Wano. Yeah, but she's not going to beat Mai Sakurai. Yeah, but she's not going to beat Mirai. She could beat anybody on this roster and it feel legitimate because of the way that she's been booked in Marigold. Yes, she's got a losing record against Mai Sakurai. Yes, she was unsuccessful when going for the United National Championship back in February, I believe. However, you do feel that air of legitimacy that she could beat people. In fact, we've both got her beating Mirai on the final night, on the 14th of September, to stop her going through. That Mika Wano match, there's a reason that match is in Korakuen Hall. There's, you know, I think that Chan Yota is going to have a very good tournament and is actually one of my picks to be the breakout of this entire tournament, not just in Star League. But I don't think she quite makes it through the top for all the reasons that we've outlined with Mai Sakurai, Mirai, Mika Wano. I don't see her making it through, but I do see her upsetting Mai Sakurai on the final on the first night, whether that is with a time limit draw or whether that's with a straight defeat, and maybe even beating Kazuna Tanaka to be up and about at the top of the block by the end of the first night.
Rob, I'm assuming because of how shredded this picture is, this is a recent picture of Chan Yota because she's entering a bodybuilding competition.
Yes,
yeah, I mean, she's shredded. And you can even see the veins in her arms. I mean, discipline. Bodybuilding is disciplined sport, not only from the lifting, but you got to get your proper sleep in and the dieting, which is always the hardest thing for me because I like to eat, Rob. I like to eat, but I mean, geez, what a disciplined athlete that she is. You're right. I mean, you look at her opening night and her final night, Sakurai and Mirai. She's got a tough bookend, but I'm in agreement with you. I don't see her picking up a lot of points, but her matches as she builds towards the end, you're gonna be like, oh, she almost had her. Oh, she's gonna be like almost, like, oh, she almost won that match. Oh, she almost won that match. I see her maybe 4 or 5 points, but I do see her knocking out Mirai in that final night. And again, as I mentioned before, Mirai does win the white belt. That is a V1, V2 that you can put in Korakuen Hall and have an excellent match. Really looking forward to see what Chan Yota does in this tournament. A lot of things that are going to play to her strengths. Mai Sakurai, Chikagoto, Mirai. It's going to be interesting to see how she does with the faster style wrestlers in Kazuna Tanaka and Misa Matsui. Really like a different styles clash, but a lot of times they can make it work. A lot of times they can make it work. Her and Mika Wano are just going to, that's a match where I'm like, here's the finish. I'll see you out there. They're going to just wail on each other. And it's going to be like the best thing ever. Yeah, again, I think she's going to have a lot of matches where she almost pulls it off, but just doesn't. But that Mirai match on the final night is going to be a really tall tale where they go with Chan Yota in the fall.
Yeah, and you mentioned that that higher speed sort of move set. She's got Kazuna Tanaka and Misa Matsui back to back on consecutive nights on the 2nd of August and the 3rd of August. So that really could set her back if she fails in both of those matches. That match with Chikagoto on the 2nd of September is one I'm very much looking forward to, simply because Chikagoto is someone whose resilience, determination, and fire is really going to complement Chan Yota's power really, really well, because Chika Goto is not going to want to be outpowered by Chan Yota and vice versa. So again, I don't think she makes it out of this block, but she's certainly going to be a surprise package, definitely. We've already mentioned her, Chika Goto, the love of Go Chika, number 51 on the roster. She is perhaps the person with the biggest chip on her shoulder coming into this tournament. Had a miserable tournament last year, if you remember, despite beating Koki Amare in the tournament at Korakuen Hall, if you remember. 1-6 was sort of picked as someone that was perhaps struggling with the longer form of matches. If you remember, that was a line that was being fed on commentary. However, I would argue that of everybody in the tournament, Chika Goto is one of the most improved wrestlers on this roster, in terms of not only offense, but in terms of defense, in terms of aggression, in terms of tenacity, in terms of gritty determination. And I think through that, she is going to be one of the most supported wrestlers in this block. And that's what makes so many of her matches so captivating. The way that she performs against the likes of a Mai Sakurai on the 9th of August, or a Mirai on the opening night. That first match against Mirai is going to be very, very telling for Chika Goto's tournament. However, that being said, Matt, look at that record. She hasn't picked up a win against anyone in this tournament. Now, we know that it is a first-time match against Misa Matsui, Chan Yota, and Kazuna Tanaka, but she has losing records against everybody else in this tournament. She is not going to go through in this block. However, this is going to be a very performance-based tournament for Go Chika. Will she pick up more points? I think she probably will. She may pick up 3, she may pick up 2 wins. However, it's going to be about how she conducts herself in these matches. And again, that match with Mirai on the opening night is going to be the big tell-all. How is she going to approach this match against Mirai? And again, the same could be said against Chan Yota on the 2nd of September, Miko Aono on the 7th of September, and of course, Mai Sakurai on the 9th of August.
I think her Mirai go to TLD. And depending on how you build Chika Goto going into the fall and December, and in 2026, that's a possibility. Again, if we think Mirai is coming out of Ryogoku as your white belt. Again, we are booking like 2-3 years. We're booking everything 2-3 years in advance. We're rocking and roll. But I mean, it makes sense. You go to time limit draw, you build Chika Goto up coming off this tournament. And if Mirai does come out of Sumo Hall as champion, you can kind of play on that. Like, hey, you didn't beat me and I didn't beat you. Like, hey, you can build up to a big title shot. And maybe Chika Goto is ready at the end of the year, beginning of next year, to carry one of those belts. And again, look how much he's improved over the last 7 months. You're telling me she can't improve to that main event level over the next 5 or 6 months? Throw in the fact that there's now a dojo, you have Mayu there, you have all these trainers. She's going to constantly get better because now the resources are there for her to get consistently better. I think that as we're going to like that Miko Wano match, I think it's going to be one thing where if she loses, she's out. And I think she's going to lose that match. Where the match with Kazuna Tanaka is going to be like, hey, it's just a match to have a good match. Like, it's not going to be, it'll be for points, but both of them are going to be mathematically eliminated going into that final night. And again, not every tournament can be 2022 5-star Grand Prix where half the field was in contention going into that final night. But I think it's going to be a really great match. I think it's going to be like, hey, they're both eliminated. They have 8 to 10 minutes. Go out there and hit a home run. And I think her and Tanaka on that final night are going to have a great match. But with Chika Goto getting a win, building momentum coming off this tournament, I agree, buddy. I think 5-6 points roughly is probably where she's going to be at. Going to that final night, I think her and Tanaka are both going to be eliminated. But I think they're going to have a banger of a match. I'm really looking forward to, obviously, that match with Mirai, that match with Mai Sakurai, and that match with Miko Wano. Those are the 3 matches I'm looking forward to the most for Go Chika.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on then to Kazuna Tanaka, the 2nd generation princess, back number 6, another person who only managed 2 points, 1 solitary victory in last year's tournament. And unfortunately, perhaps the only person in this block with a worse record than Chika Goto. First matches with Chika and with Mirai as well, but losing records against absolutely everybody else in the block and no pinfall victories over anybody else in the block as well. It's going to be an uphill struggle for Kazuna Tanaka. And as I mentioned before, with Chika Goto, this is going to be a very performance based tournament. And I think that Kazuna Tanaka could be someone we are talking about at the end of this tournament as the breakout star. Because her matches against the likes of Mai Sakurai on the 17th of August, her match against Mirai on the 6th of September, that match against Mika Wano on the 2nd of September, but also the match against Misa Matsui in Korakuen Hall could all be really, really good matches. We all know what Kazuna Tanaka is capable of. She's a very, very good wrestler. We've seen her be very good on the defensive. I'm looking forward to seeing her picking up those key victories. I'm looking forward to seeing her match the likes of Misa Matsui in terms of pace. I'm looking forward to seeing her go toe-to-toe with Chika Goto in terms of determination, Mai Sakurai in terms of striking, because I think that match with her and Mai Sakurai could be a very key one in Kazuna Tanaka's tournament. Again, perhaps only maybe picking up 3-4 points, but I am highlighting that Mai Sakurai match because I do think that's where Kazuna Tanaka picks up a pin and a potential white belt shot as well.
Ooh, so you're saying a potential white belt shot. Interesting, partner. She may be the only wrestler in the history of tournament wrestling that's going to get like 2 or 3 points. And we're going to be like, no, she's the breakout star because of how great her matches are.
Agreed.
Because I don't see her picking up many points. I mean, I would love to see her get a win over Nagisa, but you want heels, your cheating heels, and your heels that know how to be good heels, picking up wins early on in this tournament. Like, very much like a Tora in 23 or Ruaka in the Cinderella last year, because you need heat going in towards those final nights. So I don't see her picking up many wins. But I tell you what, as far as match quality goes, I mean, geez, Sakurai, Misa Matsui, that's one to circle. Miko Ano, that's going to be kick heavy. Mirai, that's going to be right up my alley. And again, I think her and Chika Goto are going to be eliminated on that final night, but have a chip on their shoulder to go and steal the undercard. Again, I think 2, 3, maybe 4 points max. But she's going to have so many great matches in this tournament that I think that I agree with you. She's going to be our breakout star of the Star League, my friend. So we're looking forward to see what Kazuna Tanaka does. Obviously, I want her to come out healthy. We talked about it when we reviewed the Marigold Standard. We covered the shows that she's still, her back's still taped up. So something to really look out for. Again, young into her career. We don't want her sitting on the shelf. Obviously, we don't want her straining her lower back any more than she did this past year. But I do expect her to have a really great tournament. I expect her to be in the contention in this tournament in 2026, 27, and 2028. I wouldn't be shocked if she does win this tournament in 2 or 3 years because she's that good.
Yeah, absolutely. She's got so many years left in the ring, injury obviously notwithstanding. And she doesn't need to win a whole load of matches in this tournament. But I think this could be the tournament where people who haven't already sit up and take notice and go, Jesus Christ, she is actually a really good professional wrestler that just gets it, has that natural talent. And I can't wait to see that in key matches, as I've mentioned before. Misa Matsui, who we're going to talk about now, Psycho Speed, back number 33, is another person who I think we are going to be talking about coming out of this tournament. Not someone, again, who is going to be picking up a load of points, but I think someone who is going to be doing better than last year, certainly. And I think someone who could be a spoiler for a lot of people. We've seen her quick speed, that La Magistral Cradle, the European clutch, secure a lot of shock victories, and I think that could be another case here. Anyone that is in the ring with Misa Matsui is not going to be guaranteed a victory, and I think she is the epitome of that statement that I've used about 7 times now over this podcast. She can beat anybody, and it wouldn't surprise me if she's utilized in that way. Look at Mika Wano on that opening night. What if Misa Matsui rolls her up with a European clutch? It could happen. Mai Sakurai on the 10th of August. It could happen. Mirai on the 6th of September. Again, utilizing that La Magistral Cradle, the European clutch, not even thinking about the Darkness Revolution interference, which could also play a part and also play a part with Nagisa Nozaki, we'll talk about afterwards. I genuinely think that Misa Matsui could be utilized as a block breaker, not necessarily getting 6, 7, 8 points, but someone who picks up 4 points, and they are 2 victories that completely derail someone else's tournament.
She has one of the most interesting opening nights. Miko Ano, again, favorite, and Chika Goto, favorite to really break out in this tournament. So that's going to be interesting. You're right. I mean, Mirai is a lot of people's favorite to go far or even win this tournament. We always see it. We always have the heel that kind of trips up the baby face that's trying, especially a baby face that we want to see Mirai do well. What if she's the one that kind of, breaks, spoil? Maybe Mirai's heading into, the block final with the league. She loses there. And then Mirai has, is it Miko Ano she has on the final night? Mirai? I forget. But then, the kind of maybe the playoff there.
No, Mirai's got Chanyota.
Chanyota, that's right. Yeah, because they did have Chanyota beat. So what if there's a good possibility Mirai is leading this block, and then it's Misa Matsui that beats her, and then she has a must-win in Chanyota, and either they go to the TLD or Chanyota beats her, thus sending possibly again Miko Ano or Mai Sakurai to the finals. It's a possibility. Again, if you remember, Misa Matsui did have Mai Sakurai on the final last year. And I think you and a lot of people said that Misa Matsui, who was only going into that match with 2 points, may roll up Mirai or Mai Sakurai and beat her. And there was on the edge of my seat because there was a lot of near falls that almost derailed Mai Sakurai from not making it to the final. And she can beat you a whole bunch of different ways. We now have a more violent side with her being part of Darkness Revolution Army. We talked about it on the Marigold Standard this week. Those insane top rope double stomp that she's doing. The best flying knee. I believe you said the best flying knee in wrestling since Tam Nakano. Since Tam Nakano, I think were somewhat your exact words, give or take a few words there. But
that certainly sounds like something I'd say.
I forget. There's a buzz in my headphones. The Batmobile was driving by my road. Regardless, she's going to have a great tournament when it comes to wrestling. And she's going to be one of those ones that can really upset somebody towards the end. I think her match on the final night when Nagisa Nozaki is going to be a lot of chicanery. And
I hope so.
And I think it's going to be different because, again, the way that final night's setting up, you're a lot of great wrestling and a lot of who's still going to be available. I think Nagisa and Misa going that final night, I don't think either of them are going to be in contention. But I think we're going to see a lot of chicanery because it's going to be something different on that final night.
Yeah, and I think both of them will be out by the final night. They could potentially do something quite comical, which could be really entertaining. And it's something that we could see because I believe, Chiaki's got Sanka on the final night. It's something that Chiaki and Rhea Sato could potentially do with each other as well, be quite comical with it and do something very unique and different to everything else on that card. But Misa Matsui is someone who I'm earmarking as her matches against everyone in this block are must see. And, this tournament is unbelievable in terms of match quality. We are really quite spoiled, let's be perfectly honest, but Misa Matsui is someone who I have my eye on to really, really blow things out of the water when she's not utilizing Darkness Revolution to cheat. And speaking of Darkness Revolution, that brings us to our final person in Star League, and that is, of course, Nagisa Nozaki, the Angel of Death. Great nickname, by the way. We don't talk about that enough.
I didn't know that. Like the Slayer song, Angel of Death, Marching to the Kingdom of the Dead. Come on, Infamous, Butcher, Angel of Death. Wow. Anywho, sorry, buddy. I'm rocking out.
It's all right, man. I'm glad I popped you. Nagisa Nozaki is someone who should be treated with respect in this block. Obviously, last year, surprised Utami early on in the tournament by beating her, so has the capability of beating anyone in this block. Again, similarly to Misa Matsui, I suppose, could be a potential block breaker. Finished with 9 points last year, was there or thereabouts. I don't think she will be in contention on the final night. If she is, I think Misa Matsui probably beats her, which means that she doesn't go through. Again, I wouldn't be surprised necessarily if she was in contention. I just don't think she will be. Her match with Mirai on the 10th of August is one that I'm really, really excited about. Her match with Chanyota, the following match, the 16th, is one to keep an eye on. And then, of course, Miko Ano on the 6th of September as well. But that Chika Goto match in Korakuen Hall, that's the one. That's the one for me, because that could be where we see a ferocious side of Chika Goto. That side that we all wanted to get behind in that phenomenal Marigold versus Marvelous main event in Korakuen Hall. That is what I want to see when she's faced with Nagisa Nozaki. Korakuen Hall getting behind her, properly supporting her as she overcomes all these odds, maybe even picks up the victory. Why the hell not? For the love of Go Chica.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Again, there's a reason why they put that match in Korakuen Hall. Korakuen Hall does a great. It's like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. They know when to cheer. They know when to boo. They know when to throw the popcorn. I'm saying that for the Rocky Horror Picture Show, folks. Don't throw anything in the ring. Don't throw anything into the ring, except for streamers when it's allowed. I think that she's going to be either 1, 2, or 3 going into that Chikagoto match. I think she'll be in contention in the block, and because there's going to be so much heat in the best way possible on Nagisa and so much babyface love for Chikagoto, I think Chikagoto big Korakuen Hall, and then she's kind of teetering, and then you have Miko Ano be the one to knock her out on the 30th. After Miko Ano beats her, then Nagisa is out. But I would have her in contention going to that Chikagoto match, and the crowd wants to see 2 things. 1, Goto get a big win, and Nagisa to be knocked off her pedestal. You literally can do that in one match, and you get the big pop from the crowd. That puts Chikagoto up to another level. You get more heel heat, good heat on Nagisa, and then who does she have next? Oh, Miko Ano, and then Miko Ano properly knocks her out of the block. I think that's the way to go. I think you're going to see Nagisa have a lot of wins going into that Korakuen Hall show. Again, Tanaka, Mai Sakurai, great way to start off. And then you have Mirai, Chanyota, hard-hitting, right up her alley. That Miko Ano one, I think, is going to be her best match of the tournament. And again, it's going to be interesting to see what her and Misa Matsui. Could be a lot of Gaga. Could be a lot of Gaga, a lot of this or that. But I expect her to have another great tournament as far as points goes, as far as wrestling goes. Again, she is probably the best heel in this company as far as being an actual heel, like somebody you want to see, boo in a good way, like, not go away, hey, good heat, to the point where it's like, I will pay money to see somebody beat Nagisa Nozaki. And I think you'll see 1,200 people pay to see Chikagoto defeat Nagisa Nozaki in Korakuen Hall, because that's what you want, partner. Again, I think Nagisa is a phenomenal heel. She knows how to be a heel. She knows how to get baby faces over. And I think this tournament's going to build to a crescendo where her and Chikagoto in Korakuen Hall helping Goto get to that next level.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Nagisa Nozaki. I think she's a great heel, and someone that can put on a fantastic match with whoever she's faced across with. That being said, Matt Turner, that brings us to an end of Star League. I think we're both in agreement of who we've got as the winner of this block, and that is Megaton, who will sub in for Miko Ano at various points throughout the tournament. But obviously, we've both got Miko Ano.
I think you're going to say the Repo Man, setting up the Mountie Repo Man match that they never pulled the trigger on 30 years ago. Yeah, Miko Ano. I think the Star League is a little bit easier to figure out. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah. I love me some Go Chica. I love me some Mirai. I love me some Mai Sakurai. I think the Star League is a little bit easier to figure out. I think it's Miko Ano. Again, you do not put all that, have her win the main event of the last pay-per-view on the Nai Takahashi's retirement tour. You don't have her win that match if you're just going to have her, be 50% and not make it out of the Star League. So I think we have the same final, and I think we have the same winner. So I believe me and you both have Miko Ano versus Mayu Iwatani in this final.
Yeah, and we have Miko Ano going over, I imagine. MVP of Star League?
Mirai.
Correct.
I think she has a lot.
Correct choice.
I think she has a lot to prove, because it's like they build her up, bring her back down. They build her up, bring her back down. She's always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And I think that she needs to have. She's going to. She's a great wrestler, but I think that she's going to put on an all-star performance just to show everybody just how damn good she is.
Your breakout star of the Star League.
Even though I don't see her getting a lot of points, maybe it's because she's a personal favorite of mine, and her dad was a wrestler I studied a lot 20-some years ago. One, Kazuna Tanaka.
Agreed. It could be Kazuna Tanaka. It could be Chikagoto as well as another one. I mean, Misa Matsui, who I mentioned. I'm just naming everyone in the Star League now. A couple of matches you are most looking forward to in this block.
Kazuna Tanaka and Misa Matsui.
Yeah, agreed.
Miko Ano and Kazuna Tanaka. Go Chica and Nagisa Nozaki, for the reasons why I said. Yeah. I think because it's going to be it'll be a great match. I think as far as like star wise goes, it's not going to be like your 4.5 to 5-star match we may get with some of these Miko Ano matches, but it may be the biggest pop in Korakuen Hall on that show if they build it up the way that I said it, with Go Chica getting a big win over the dastardly heel that is Nagisa Nozaki. And how awesome would it be if Megaton comes in to help to help Nagisa Chica Goto win said match, and we have Go Megaton.
Absolutely. Why not? Why not? And we could have the Go-Go Tons as a trio. Think how good that would be. There you go.
Oh, my goodness. 3 hours of podcasting and we're still going strong, buddy.
I mean, for me, Nagisa Nozaki versus Chan Yota is one to look for, one we didn't really mention. I think Mirai and Chan Yota on that final night. Obviously, I'm discounting the obvious ones like Mai Sakurai and Miko Ueno and things like that. But also Mirai and Kazuna Tanaka is one I'm really excited for. I think Chika Goto's tournament is one we're going to be talking about. Because genuinely, in terms of improvement, I can't think of anyone better. Just very quickly then, before we sign off, I just want to go through each of the nights. And we start with that night one in the day. Utami Hayashishita versus Victoria Yuzuki, Mayu versus Senka, Koki Amare versus Rhea Sato, and Chiaki versus Seri Yamaoka are your Dream League matches from the Edion Arena Osaka number 2, 2nd of August day show. Star League, Mai Sakurai versus Chan Yota, Miko Ueno versus Misa Matsui, Mirai versus Chika Goto, and Kazuna Tanaka versus Nagisa Nozaki. Matt, when you see all the fixtures lined up like that, you realize just how good that opening day is, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, every match is must see. Every match is going to be a hard hitter. And again, everybody is going to put on the best performance they can because they want to go out there and steal the show.
It's the same with the evening show as well. Utami Hayashishita versus Rhea Sato, Mayu Iwatani versus Seri Yamaoka, which is one we've already highlighted. Koki Amare versus Senka Akatsuki, Chiaki versus Victoria Yuzuki, Mai Sakurai versus Nagisa Nozaki in a rematch for the white belt, which we haven't really spoken about, but that's going to be great. Miko Ueno versus Mirai, which is obviously the match that everyone has circled for this show. Misa Matsui versus Chika Goto, and Kazuna Tanaka versus Chan Yota. Of course, both those are doubleheader on the 2nd of August 2025. This is where the Dream Star differs slightly from the 5-star, whereas in the 5-star we have all tournament matches. On the Dream Star, we have some shows where we've got 2, some shows where we've got 5 matches, some shows where we've got 8, some shows where we've got 1. So again, it's all dotted around in terms of the structure for the Dream Star. Night 2, the 3rd of August in Hiroshima, we'll see Utami versus Chiaki from the Dream League and Misa Matsui versus Chan Yota from the Star League. The 9th of August, which is Mirai's homecoming show in Iwate in the Miyako City Gymnasium. In the Dream League, Koki Amare versus Chiaki. And in the Star League, Mai Sakurai versus Chika Goto in that rematch for the United National title, which we both really enjoyed. We then move to Sendai Pit in Miyagi on the 10th of August. Dream League, Rhea Sato versus Mayu Iwatani and Victoria Yuzuki versus Seri Yamaoka. Keep an eye on that Yuzuki versus Seri match. And then Star League, Mirai versus Nagisa Nozaki and Misa Matsui versus Mai Sakurai. The 16th of August, then, we'll see Mai Sakurai's homecoming show in the Ichikawa City Cultural Hall in Chiba. Dream League match, Utami Hayashishita versus Seri Yamaoka. And in Star League, Nagisa Nozaki versus Chan Yota. 17th of August, the following day from the Shibuya Ward Sports Center in Tokyo, we'll see the Dream League match between Rhea Sato and Senka Akatsuki and the Star League match between Mai Sakurai and Kazuna Tanaka. Again, keep that highlighted because if Kazuna Tanaka wins, I will be taking the mother of all victory laps, just FYI. Night 7, which is the 22nd of August in the Sunpearl Arakawa in Tokyo, is Chika Goto's homecoming show. It is solely Dream League action. Utami Hayashishita versus Senka Akatsuki and Koki Amare versus Victoria Yuzuki. We've also got Chika Goto versus Mayu Iwatani in non-tournament action, just to add to that show. Korakuen Hall, the 30th of August, genuinely a match of the year, a show of the year contender. Dream League, Utami Hayashishita versus Mayu Iwatani, Seri Yamaoka versus Koki Amare, Victoria Yuzuki versus Senka Akatsuki, Chiaki versus Rhea Sato. Star League, Mai Sakurai versus Mirai, Miko Ueno versus Chan Yota, Nagisa Nozaki versus Chika Goto, and Kazuna Tanaka versus Misa Matsui. Matt Turner, there are 6 matches there that could legitimately be 4 stars plus.
Easily, yeah. Yeah, that might be an okay show.
Might be all right. Might review it. Why not? 2nd of September in Shinjuku, face 3 Dream League matches: Koki Amare versus Mayu Iwatani, Senka Akatsuki versus Seri Yamaoka, and Victoria Yuzuki versus Ria Sato. Star League: Chikagoto versus Chan Yota, and Miko Ano versus Kazuna Tanaka. 6th of September in the Wolfheart Toyama in Toyama, Dream League will see Chiaki versus Mayu Iwatani, and then 2 Star League matches: Misa Matsui versus Mirai, and Miko Ano versus Nagisa Nozaki. Final couple of shows then, the Night 11, which is the 7th of September 2025, in the Mai Prefectural Cultural Center, will be solely Star League action. Mirai versus Kazuna Tanaka, yes please, and Chikagoto versus Miko Ano, yes please. 2 very good tournament matches on the 7th of September before we get to the final night, Korakuen Hall, Night 12, 14th of September. So our final block matches, our final night of block action: Dream League, Utami Hayashishita versus Koki Amare, Seri Yamaoka versus Ria Sato, Victoria Yuzuki versus Mayu Iwatani, Chiaki versus versus Senka Akatsuki, can't read. Star League: Mai Sakurai versus Miko Ano, Mirai versus Chan Yota, Nagisa Nozaki versus Misa Matsui, Kazuna Tanaka versus Chikagoto, and on top of that, Matt, of course, we have the Dream Star Grand Prix final. 2 absolutely stellar cards that Marigold have booked for Korakuen Hall. Genuinely two shows we're going to be talking about at the end of the year as potential show of the year candidates, without a doubt.
Yeah, really great stuff. And again, me and you both have the same final with Miko Ano defeating Mayu Iwatani. So interesting, folks. If anybody else, let us know what your predictions are. So super excited for it. I mean, everybody looks like they're going to come out of this tournament better than going in, and that's the idea. You want to keep building up this roster. But boy, howdy, I am super excited for this year's Dream Star partner.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to an end of our Dream Star Grand Prix primer. We hope you have enjoyed it. We hope you are as excited for the Dream Star Grand Prix to start as we are. Don't forget, doubleheader, 2nd of August in the Edion Arena, Osaka number 2. It is live on Wrestle Universe. If you haven't already, ladies and gentlemen, subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are literally everywhere. If you haven't already, a 5-star review and a comment helps us out massively to be exposed to even more people and spread the word of Joshi to more people. You can find us on Patreon as well, patreon.com/the Stardom Cast. We can find all of these episodes early and ad-free for as little as $1 a month, as well as all the news, show reviews, and show previews for absolutely free with no sign-up at all. You can find us on social media at Marigold Podcast, apart from on Threads, Blue Sky, or Instagram, where you can find us at Talk Joshi. You can talk to me on Twitter at Real Rob Goodwin. Mr. Matt Turner, it's been a long one. Sign us off, good sir.
But a good one. Folks, questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and the Twitter is the easiest, fastest, and bestest way to get a hold of me. Or if you want to shoot me an email, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to give you the email address. Rob's going to help me out. The email address, folks, simply is thestardomcast22@gmail.com. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for our Marigold Standard Dream Star Primer. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do it without you. It's like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast. Because we're all together, everybody's different. Everybody's special.